Welcome to the Secret Mental Techniques, number 8, the habits. When we wake up in the morning, doctor, and meticulously examine our daily actions, we find that the vast majority of them are deeply ingrained as part of our established routines. Habits that we repeat almost identically each and every day, day after day. Some of them are necessary and constructive, while many others are not very useful, can be quite destructive, and even highly detrimental to the objectives we are pursuing in our existence.
You are absolutely right, Carla, and this aspect is incredibly crucial to distinguish and to clearly recognize that from the moment we get up, we carry out a whole series of habits. However, simultaneously, we are also encountering a much more critical mental challenge that we tend to overlook. Or rather, we don't provide it with the necessary attention it rightfully merits. I believe that no one on this planet gives it the sufficient attention that it truly requires, or rather, the attention it desperately needs. That our mental habits necessitate, wouldn't you agree? This is due to the fact that they really demand a lot of our attention. And their importance comes from the scientifically proven fact that our mental habits are responsible for producing our physical habits. So we tend to be focused solely on the consequences rather than getting to the root or source from which all our everyday actions habitually emanate.
We are what we think, right, doctor?
Exactly.
When we analyze these destructive habits, doctor, we notice that they very often originate from uncomfortable feelings, those that are deeply unpleasant, which tend to resurface again and again, ultimately evolving into a form of emotional torture. The real problem lies in the fact that generally we aren't aware of how to manage or handle them effectively. We've experimented with various strategies to rid ourselves of these toxic emotions, or at the very least to try and control them, but often nothing seems to work.
Yes, Carla, and this goes much, much further than just that. Our mood swings. Our changes, our mood swings, are often dramatic personality shifts, and we often find ourselves asking, what happened to us, right? We are not usually like this. And that is because of a lack of sufficient vigilance over our inner self, especially regarding our feelings and the specific thoughts that we are assigning to those feelings that actually create our emotions, and we don't even realize it, do we? All of a sudden, before we even realize it, we find ourselves engulfed in an emotional hell and have no idea why.
Why and how to escape it, right?
Exactly. And most importantly, you're right, Carla, how to get out of it.
Which is precisely what the secret mental techniques are designed to help us with.
Definitely.
The mere appearance of these feelings, doctor, is sufficient to completely alter our state of mind, immediately triggering an entire chain of negative emotions. For example, an episode can begin with a certain kind of fear. Fear concerning our financial situation, potential unemployment, or losing a partner, family, friends, or health itself. Such fears are often accompanied by feelings of anxiety, frustration, guilt, intense self-criticism, and at times even profound self-hatred.
You know, Carla, one of the most famous presidential quotes, I believe, throughout the entire world is what Roosevelt once stated: the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And despite the fact that it is very famous and appears in all history books and everywhere, very few people truly comprehend its meaning or give it the significance it truly holds. Because if we had just given it the importance it deserves, we would have already made significant strides in developing these secret mental techniques, yet we haven't. I believe we have, quite frankly, fallen short. We got stuck on the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, but we never really explained why that is. And how exactly? Right now, we're perfectly describing it here within the context of the secret mental techniques.
Excellent point, Doctor. That's perfectly well described.
Thank you.
Doctor, the impact of these emotions isn't solely confined to our inner selves. It frequently manifests as destructive behaviors, quarrels with our significant others or children, the consumption of unhealthy foods and beverages, the misuse of medications or illicit drugs, among other things. In other words, we enter into real emotional hells, Doctor, that impact our behavior and lead to irrational actions.
Yes, exactly. That's precisely the point we've been trying to convey. Wouldn't you agree? The fact that the complete lack of monitoring and self-awareness regarding our inner self, that leads to us, our entire context ends up taking control and managing us, you see. That is to say, what happens if we meticulously examine our habits and our lives? There's absolutely no control. We are indeed victims. We are victims of absolutely everything. If you go to prisons, you'll find everyone considers themselves a victim. And the worst part is, they're correct. Right? Why is that? Because one thing leads to another and another and another. And I ended up striking my wife, and she fell and passed away, and here I am in prison. Why? All because of that issue. Due to a lack of monitoring our own inner self. If you start to monitor, Carla, your inner self, you know, a negative feeling surfaces, you begin to fight it, but then you pause and think, hold on just a second. Don't start yelling at your wife and your kids, they didn't. Exactly. Then yes, you begin to take command of different situations rather than allowing those circumstances to continue to control you.
These techniques are truly going to help us, Doctor, in putting a stop to these actions that can sometimes be irreparable.
Exactly.
Doctor, these emotional states emerge and persist primarily due to our insufficient understanding of ourselves. We remain ignorant of how this extraordinary system, which we call the human organism, truly functions. This organism has been refining itself for billions of years, while our comprehension of its complex operations has considerably fallen behind. The intricate nature of our minds and bodies is continuously evolving, propelled by various elements such as music, cinema, cultural influences, and technological advancements.
Yes. You're getting to the very core of things, of the significant crisis that is steadily approaching us, a crisis that has already started to paralyze humanity. Why is that? Because we continue to make tremendous progress. Scientists are making tremendous advancements in technology. Music is somewhat keeping pace, though it has fallen behind a bit lately, but cinematography is truly performing miracles. Just look at us. And our understanding of secret mental techniques as well as their implementation is falling too far behind. It is imperative that we accelerate our progress in this area. We absolutely need to get our act together, and really quickly, before it's too late. We're witnessing it across various domains. The global warming, the ozone layer, everything is becoming extremely complicated, to say the least. On the other hand, the techniques are already starting to produce very, very favorable results.
That is what is important, doctor, so we can understand them and keep improving them. It is fundamental, doctor, to understand that from both the conscious mind and the subconscious, we cannot always directly control our feelings. Nevertheless, we are able to utilize our conscious mind to generate thoughts that gradually can allow us to influence both the origin and the intensity of our feelings and consequently our emotions. It's not about anticipating instant miracles, but rather about diligently practicing with steadfast perseverance until we transform into an improved version of ourselves.
Carla, in India, people actually refer to them as mantras. In terms of what they put down explicitly in black and white, what kind of thoughts should we actually be having? Right? And that's exactly what we need to do, right? It's about putting down in black and white our cheering sections, how we're going to cheer ourselves on, how we're going to, in other words, indirectly produce the feelings we want to emerge within us.
That's precisely right, doctor. We are currently implementing these techniques to effectively program our minds, ensuring that we reap the maximum benefits from this reprogramming. Wouldn't you agree?
That kind of reprogramming of the mind will generate an entirely new set of feelings, fresh emotions, different behaviors, and ultimately new and improved results in our lives.
For instance, when an undesirable emotion emerges, we can quickly counteract it by merging it with a positive and constructive thought. I am genuinely striving to enhance the overall quality of my life, and these prevailing negative feelings are certainly not providing any assistance. Then, reinforce it with a motivational thought that truly sparks enthusiasm, something like, I am already well on my way to achieving success. It's just a matter of time until I start to experience truly significant results.
Here we see how the technique is effectively duplicated, right? We have to develop powerful mantras to completely nullify all those negative feelings, those harmful feelings within us. And we need to design completely different mantras so that we can effectively cheer ourselves on and genuinely cultivate truly motivating and positive emotions. Don't you agree? So then, you come to realize how these secret mental techniques are boundless as new and different things continuously come to the surface, emerging and multiplying without end. And the amazing levels of perfection that you are able to attain are truly incredible, but one has to start from the very bottom, from rock bottom.
Starting from the very bottom, doctor, and move forward gradually without skipping any steps. The history of the Beatles perfectly demonstrates the immense power of our thoughts when it comes to the mental techniques we are currently discussing. 4 young lads from a small town in England who began their musical journey in Hamburg, Germany. They used to ask their leader, John Lennon, where he was going to take them, and he would answer with conviction, to the very pinnacle of global success. This powerful mantra not only fortified their self-assurance, but also meticulously directed their thoughts and, as a direct result, their emotions, allowing them to bring to fruition what seemed like their unattainable dreams, Doctor.
What better example could there be? Nobody told me about this. I experienced it myself. That's where the power lies. I could share many more stories, but this is one that I truly lived through step by step, experiencing it firsthand. Well, it certainly didn't happen overnight, what we talked about regarding the secret mental techniques. But it is there nonetheless. 4 young lads from England who they didn't really have a substantial musical education, not even a professional one. They came from fractured. They came from broken homes and faced overwhelming odds. All the statistics and probabilities were stacked against them, yet they held on to these seemingly impossible dreams. That everyone used to make fun of them, and there, we clearly perceive the immense power of the thoughts they held throughout their entire careers. This is because they were subjected to numerous attempts to destroy them from multiple angles, and even simultaneously. And they always came out ahead. They consistently remained at the peak. From the very beginning of their careers, when they embraced those mantras, until eventually some of them passed away with Paul and Ringo still with us, right? They achieved tremendous success, even though the odds were completely stacked against them. So, that's the immense power of thoughts. The power of thoughts truly has the ability to make impossible dreams come true.
In all areas, Doctor. For them, it was in their musical domain, but we can implement these principles in anything we wish, understanding that these are not just dreams and certainly not instant miracles. It's about working on it constantly. It's not about saying, I want $1 million and a briefcase will just show up.
No, and once you obtain that $1 million, new onslaughts and challenges will arise. And that's precisely what makes this life, so profoundly mysterious, incredibly enjoyable, and exceptionally fascinating.
I agree, Doctor.